Yeah,
we're just recording. Um, but yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Dude, the world is weird, isn't it? Yeah,
Hella
I got
weird,
kind of
man.
inspired to reach out when you put out the video that I commented on that where the comment was erased,
Oh yeah.
which was, dude, like my whole life, it's like the interference with electronic devices goes back to my 20s, and of course we're in the internet era now, and it's devices, phones, um, but anyway, I liked the fact that you inserted yourself in sort of like the calm middle pillar of this political circus that we're in. And
Hmm.
that's, I desperately trying to find people who don't go all the way to one side. I have empathy for, I take every cause, every news headline, every situation on its merits one by one, and I start anew with that, and I feel through it, and I end up all over the political spectrum depending on what's going on.
Hmm.
And I almost feel like I kind of, I kind of worked on my book. I liked the book. I put it out. But at that very moment, I started having kind of falling outs with some people about the political situations. And I just decided, okay, that book's going to die, more or less die on the vine because I am not going to pretend that I'm super in this camp or super in this camp. And as you know, there's been so much drama, whether it be with people who have conferences or accusations of one sort of super soldier against other people who hold conferences. It's been like kind of nutty.
Hmm.
And I think I came up with a reason why this is. Because how many times have you seen and how many times have I seen, like, what's going on in the community? How do we fix it? How do we stop? And I think I know the root of the problem. And this is not going to be a popular thing to say, perhaps, but I realized over time that it's fundamentally political at its core.
Mm.
What is politics? What, dude, since we're kids, we peek in at politics and we're like, Jesus, why are these people just fighting? Why do they never get along? Well, because they're vying for positioning and power. And there's a hefty amount of ego sort of kind of baked into that. And even though we all share the same kind of childlike curiosity, we've had experiences. We've gone to other astral levels. Your dreams are off the hook. I mean, you're traveling far in your dreams. There's a lot going on with that. So we have
Hmm.
this shared thing where we know that this experience, this human experience, is bananas, and
Hmm.
we found people to share it with. Unfortunately, somewhere under this core, there is a propensity to find political solutions, and I don't know how people came up with this. I don't know why that there's I don't know why people think that that might be the avenue for us to get information we would like. I have never trusted a single politician in my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that I mean that it is a weird thing in the whole like disclosure spiritual community with the drama that goes on, and you're right, it is very political right now. And it's funny because I've been in around these circles for 10 years now.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it wasn't that political for me. I didn't really see much political stances on any of it. It was just about the secret space program and people telling their stories about, being taken as kids and all the
Hmm.
things that they'd gone through. And I didn't see it really become, but then again, like I wasn't really in it that intensely. I was still kind of just observing from the out, but I saw it started to get more political right around COVID. That's when I saw things get real crazy. But also
Hmm.
there was the whole QAnon stuff that was going on before COVID, and you know, I just had too many things going on in my own life that I wasn't spending countless hours, diving through all the QAnon rabbit holes. But the things that I did touch on, just kind of was just things I looked at and then kind of just put on the sideline. And my whole model, growing up is, time will tell, and I add a little bit more to that, that time tells the tallest tales to truth.
Yeah.
And for me, that's just like, there's so much going on in all areas that it's very crazy
Mm-hmm.
to really ever come to a conclusion of certainty that you know what is and what isn't
Right.
until the story is actually done. And we're nowhere near completion of this story here. And Yeah, how it is right now. It's really crazy with I mean, like, I'll admit, during the years of 2018, 2019, and going into 2020, um I started to have dreams about Trump. And before, I hated Trump. Before, during his first run and getting into office, I was not paying attention to anything politically, but Facebook and media sank its hook into me, and all I saw was him talking about deporting, and they're all MS-13s, whatever, blah blah. And so
Sure.
when he became president, for me, it was, oh my gosh, now my friends and family that I love, they could potentially be deported. So for years, I actually did not like him and tried to organize in my own community to figure out how to protect my friends and family. But then the dreams started to happen, and I
Can
was,
I interrupt you?
yeah, yeah, please.
I can't believe that you just brought up that he was coming into your dreams because that's something I wanted to talk about.
Hmm.
I think there's a phenomenon going on, and I think I had an organic experience in 2016, and this is what happened to me, dude. In my 30s, growing up, becoming aware of politics, there was nobody in that I knew that knew more about the Clintons than me. I read every book. I was like, oh my God, this is how dirty Arkansas politics, the Dixie Mafia rose to power. I was fascinated in the same way that some people get about the JFK assassination. I was like that with the Clintons and still kind of am. And I knew the names, the dates, all of the body count, like everything, right? So as we come into the election cycle and the debates are happening and it's Trump and Hillary Clinton, nobody was more ready for her to get made a fool of than me.
Hmm.
So when Trump, who I've always my whole life, I've been kind of like gave a middle finger in my mind to, like, because all rich bastards, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing in all these commercials and movies? Like, whatever. He's
Yeah.
just another rich bastard. Who cares though, right?
Yeah.
But he made me laugh. He made me laugh. A couple of the debates were like comic gold, like the shit he was. I've been waiting my whole life for someone to say, "You're going to jail," to Hillary Clinton, you know? So me and my brother would like have beers and watch these debates and we're laughing, right? Well, right in the middle of, and this at this point, I had sort of resolved. I'm like, you know what? I don't vote because I don't want to karmically be tied to what these motherfuckers do on either side. I
Hmm.
don't want to be to give that much energy, even a lick of energy to this, right? But I was like, you know what? Screw it. Burn it all down. This dude's a little hilarious to me.
Hmm.
Well, I had a dream somewhere in that period of time, and who I was brought into an event, and I was put at a long sort of community table, and who walks up but Hillary Clinton
Oh,
and
wow.
her entourage.
Wow.
And she starts talking to me in this dream, and she's like telling me, convincing me in the dream that a lot of what I had read was propaganda. It wasn't really that true. The Clintons were doing their very best to stop this from happening, this, but you got to play the game, all this stuff. And I woke up from that dream knowing that I had been manipulated.
Mm.
but there was a overlay on top of everything I already knew that I had to artificially peel back to get back to all of the crimes that I knew. I had this artificial positivity about her. And
Mm,
I knew that some kind of tech was being used, and I was probably a test subject because guys like you and me have implants.
yeah.
So I talked about it a little bit at that time, but I didn't have a community at all. I just talked about it with friends who were like, yeah, that's fucking weird, dude, but who knows, right?
Yeah.
And so but I went ahead and I voted for Trump, and very shortly after Trump got in, the COVID thing happened. So all I could think about was how evil that was, and fighting for my life. And I
Right.
had just moved to like the Asheville, North Carolina area, and like 10 minutes after I got there and unloaded my stuff, COVID happened. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And and then of course, so the whole world was wacky, but Trump didn't do anything that was like super evil, right? Besides like putting out the being part of putting out that vaccine. But fast forwarding a little bit here, when I have seen this phenomenon, so I was living with Tyler from Journey to Truth when Trump got shot
Mm,
or whatever. I
hmm.
don't think he actually got shot.
In the ear, that one.
That, yeah. And I could feel like this, the way he described it at the time was like there was a positive timeline shift. And I felt something tangible, right? But I thought immediately thought back to that Hillary Clinton memory, and I go, I don't know what if these shifts are organic or if they're being installed.
Mm,
And all this time later, there's his administration is not even trying to find out how that happened. So, and it was Biden's security detail.
yeah.
Like they, so there had to be coordination there. So I'm thinking this whole thing is that the whole thing's a play.
Yeah.
Like they're working together, whether every individual person knows or not. But anyway, I started of the Q people, of which I never agreed with Tyler on that, and I've spent a lot of hours, and I feel like I know that it was a psychological operation for one side, and the RussiaGate was a operation for the other, and they pit these two phony things. Trump was never an agent of Russia. That was all fake. So the Democrats look terrible, right? And they're trying to get this dude. But on the other side, there's this hero archetype of taking down the entire deep state behind the scenes. And they're
Hmm.
both way the edges of the of polarity. Trump is Satan, Trump is the savior. And I started reading people's comments who were Q or Q adjacent, and like people like Lily Nova who like would channel Trump or whatever, he's an alien. And all of the comments, regardless of what we think about that information, I don't, I've never resonated with that, with Trump being the savior. I thought maybe by default of him being kind of hilarious and an asshole, that some good shit could happen just because he would give the finger to a bunch of bad people.
Yeah.
That's like sort of measured optimism, but also like, but video after video and comment line after comment line, people are like, Trump was in my dream.
Mm,
And he was an angel of light. And I go, dude, I've been through this. They just used it, Hillary Clinton, on me. They were testing that tech.
yeah.
And so all these people continue to this day to have these downloads and
Right.
these visions of Trump. And dude, I think the whole thing, the whole new order, they'll take whichever one gets the job done.
Yeah.
But we are being massively manipulated. And I don't know where reality begins and where the tech ends.
Right. 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 I'm with you there, and with I hear everything you're saying. What's interesting too, from an astrological perspective, is what we've been dealing with the in regards to the Neptune transit. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2012. And Neptune is the ruling planet of Pisces. And so both Neptune and Pisces, coming from the domain of the 12th house, this is the realm of the subconscious mind, of belief systems, and where we transcend from the mundane physical reality and enter other dimensions, whether through dreams or fantasies or imagination. And the thing about Neptune and the sign of Pisces and the 12th house is what a lot of people don't know about this is that it's yes, Pisces and the 12th house and Neptune are very mystical and multidimensional, and it's the energies where you can experience, Christ conscious or have a spiritual experience. But all of that is rooted in one's mental health. All of that is rooted in one's subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is 80 to 88% of our entire operating being. And so, the mazes and the labyrinths that we have within our subconscious mind is very complex, which
Right.
which is why Neptune and Pisces are also embody the energies of deception and trickery, where we can be easily fooled by things we believe are real. And Neptune is the sign of the dreamer, escaping the mundane, escaping the reality and going into a dream. And the dream could be a nightmare or the dream can be something beautiful. So, since 2012, since Neptune has been transiting through Pisces, that's something that I've been saying, and a few other astrologers that I know of have been saying too, is that it's a mini age of deception, where the spiritual energies are going to be cranked up, meaning more people will have supernatural experiences that they can't really explain but feel real to them, such as our dreams or the timing with synchronicities and moments that we just have that kind of just make us go, wow, I just had an experience, downloads and things like that. So
Yeah.
Neptune and Pisces has cranked up supernatural spiritual phenomenon both on the negative and the positive spectrum, but it also has kind of um like moved us to go through this moment of organizing what aspects of our subconscious mind are programmed and confused. And now since this year, it's the first time Neptune has left Pisces and entered Aries, so it was about March of 2025, Neptune finally entered Aries and was in Aries for a few months and then retrograded back into Pisces. We now have Neptune back in Pisces at 29 degrees. So
Oh,
for a
wow.
few months this year, we had the planet that governs imagination, belief systems, dreams, illusions, fantasies, Hollywood, media, movies, stories. That planet moved from the sign of the dreamer, the escapist, the delusional one, the mental health issues and all that sort of stuff into Aries, the initiator, the light, the fire. So it's a big shift. It was only a few months, but it was a big shift in consciousness kind of having to check themselves and go, wait a minute, could everything that I once believed actually all been a trick? You know, and now since Neptune has gone back into Pisces, it's like we're being lulled back into sleep to kind of enter back into the dreams and really figure out, because the thing about the mutable signs is that they're all about perception, experiencing, and adaptation. So now that Neptune's going back into Pisces, it's like I think and with Saturn being in Pisces too, I think we're in a really challenging period for people to sort of have moments where they might be able to see that there could be something off in what they believe is actually true, but then experience cognitive dissonance or a fear that of being duped, of being bamboozled and duped. And so it's this interesting thing. And Saturn is applying this pressure for us to be accountable for things that we've believed and subscribed to, and for us to really do the work in are we just escaping again? Because that's the trick about Pisces. Pisces is the escape artist. This is too much. I want to escape into a dream. And we have so many dreams that are available for us to subscribe to. The Trump is a savior, QAnon thing, the secret space program, all these different things that we can enter into and dream. And the technology has already been around for decades. The technology to influence dreams, to access people, and all that sort of stuff has been around for a long time. And so, yeah, it's really tricky and confusing on the astrological part.
Have
And
you found yourself, because I've been doing this kind of subconsciously, but now more consciously and with more awareness, but I've been letting go of belief in general
yeah,
because it's a possession, right? Like, so in my older age, I slowly get rid of things I'm never going to use, and you feel this like space move in. Well, beliefs are possessions that you carry around, and there's a weight to them. And that's why I always thought, like, even though I went on a bunch of shows and talked about my experiences, at the same time I was letting go of those experiences.
right.
I don't really identify with the person who had those experiences.
Hmm.
Were they bananas?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. Or if I listen to the testimony of a super soldier and people go, "Do you believe them?" I almost don't know what that means anymore. I'm
Mm.
like, I heard them.
Yeah.
I felt like I can feel like I can feel that they went through something, and that's all I care about is to empathize with that experience. Whether someone literally, in the way that we understand physical reality, was taken for exactly 20 years and went to the series, it kind of doesn't matter. It's a person's sincerity level and the fact that they had an experience,
Hmm.
because I don't know where the Matrix begins and where it ends, or if the idea of the Matrix is a trick to
Hmm.
take part of our divinity away. I mean, I feel like I've seen enough Matrixy stuff that my sense is that there is a an overlay over our root consciousness that tends to try to influence the way we see the world and things like that. But I try not to get too like into a belief system of any kind and just let it roll and observe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's where I'm at now, and I've been dealing with the frustration for a couple of years now. Because my spirituality and my spiritual identities and journeys was like always very important to me, starting at a young age of 17, and I went through so many different phases. But since COVID, I started to get really angry and frustrated because at that time I had been a member of SGI, Soka Gakkai International, which is a lay Buddhist organization that chants Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. That's a
Mhm.
well-known thing. And I was really into that. But then, when COVID came around and all the sort of things, like, I didn't know what to believe anymore. And I didn't know what organizations to believe, what was real, what is all just another honeypot. And it spiraled me out into a confusion of what can I actually believe. And that's another component of the Neptune and Pisces energy is being confused in all of the things and filtering out what it is you're believing in. um and I've been dealing with that for a long time, and finally, I just like how you said, I've gotten to a point where I'm just letting it go, just letting it go. And 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 what's beautiful about letting it go is that I don't need to like overly identify, overly validate, or overly try to describe what things are, because I have a story to tell, like
Yeah.
I have gone through some experiences. So, the things that are important to me is that I know God is real. I know that there is a divine spirit, there's a divine presence. I've felt it, I've experienced it, but I also know that there are, dark, nefarious wizards out there,
Totally.
and for me, like that's as simple as I can keep it.
Well, here's something that I've been thinking about lately. Um, and honestly, it I think it was. influenced by lately I've been falling asleep a lot to Alan Watts. Have you ever listened to Alan Watts?
Yeah.
He's just a great fucking philosopher, dude.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's entertaining and whatever.
Yeah.
But he makes the point in several different ways about how, I mean, obviously there's polarity, and we try to get it in between the poles and try to stay balanced and things like that. But that doesn't make the poles go away. If we have enlightening experiences, our brains are still hemisphered, right and left.
Mm.
This realm that we're in, and I know everyone's in a hurry for 5D, or they want to get somewhere else. They're always trying
Yeah.
to get somewhere else. What's wrong
Which
with
which is back to the Pisces of escaping,
yes?
of
What's
coming up
wrong
with
with
all
here?
these things of trying to escape what is here right in front of you.
Right? Which was
Imagination, going into this imagination, higher dimension, being sold this story. We're going to transition into 5D, and this is how you have to do it.
right.
Like there are so many of these different things we're escaping.
Yeah, I wrote this little paper about how the modern sort of spiritual mindset breaks all of the fundamental rules of Star Wars.
Mm.
And I mean that's a building block, right? That's
Mhm.
it tackles the best universals for us. Like never your mind on where you are, Yoda to Luke.
Mm.
Ground, just stay where you are.
Mm.
And then never underestimate the power of the dark side. We're failing that.
Right.
It's one thing to go, ooh, the Illuminati in the music industry, blah, blah, blah. But the white hats are taking care of it now. And
Yeah.
then just letting it rot. No,
Yeah.
every, why did we come here? That's why I was like, I want to say it to people. And I started kind of smacking off online to the point where people were getting irritated with me. And then I just backed off all the way because I'm like, acknowledge Gaza. You don't have to carry an anti-war sign. You don't have to dedicate your life to the cause, but there's something I went to every single person's like history on Facebook that has conferences, holds conferences, big speakers at conferences to see how many, if any, because I had never seen it randomly, who ever mentioned Gaza?
Mm.
And the answer was zero.
Yeah.
And I go, at that moment, I went through a tough thing because I was like, I got to let go of these people.
Hmm.
Um, the energy I was getting back was sort of like, oh, you're trying to make us feel outrage. And no, I just think I am older. So I was reading all the spiritual books in the late 70s and early 80s. And I'd gone to conferences before they were the way they are now, and had gone to UFO conventions, and everyone just back then was like, oh, the government? No, 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 no. Don't nah, no, don't. Let's talk disclosure. Let's talk about our own like way of coming to truth. But anyway, I thought it a little out of balance that nobody would even mention the most clear example of a genocide, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then I realized that, wow, this is really, it's not about being a whole spiritual person that acknowledges the pain and suffering of others, but also tries to heal it. And then it's more about personal elevation of people are into what powers do I have?
Yeah.
How can you pay me for me to bring
Yeah.
up your DNA? It's
Yeah.
it's a it's a marketplace. It's a superpower marketplace with a side order of ghost stories, but
Hmm.
mostly it's political at its core. That's why there's all of this infighting and stuff like that. And I just feel like Alan Watts taught me, and it was kind of a weird, I kind of had to rewind a bunch. But I realized like I came here to be a warrior on a certain front. When something's wrong, it doesn't mean I'm less spiritual or whatever that means because I have boundaries and go no.
Hmm.
But to some in this community, if you're not always happy, it means you have a lot of work to do. And,
Right.
and oh no, that's negative. I'm not going to look over there.
Yeah.
Well, Alan Watts explains very clearly, and it lined up with my thinking through the idea when people are like, I can't wait to go to heaven. I thought about it. I'm like, Ugh. Eternity's a long fucking time. What
Mhm.
makes life cool and interesting is the adversity. It is the polarity in this realm.
Hmm.
The evil all the dark stuff, dude, serves this weird balancing function, and
Yeah.
it's all swimming like this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And although I will continue to sort of have those boundaries and say, no, that was wrong. You don't take people's wallets and
Right.
things like that. It's built into this place. And this world, with all of its faults, still is pretty kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. I don't need to go to 5D. Why
Mm-hmm.
can't I just be here?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You said a lot of great things there, and I like that. It's the disclosure spiritual community. It's a lot of like selling superpowers with the side of ghost stories. That's a that's a lot of that's accurate. And I've been to conferences, like this one conference in particular. I'm not going to name the person, uh,
Yeah.
just because I feel that I feel like they might be, you know, much darker than what they portray themselves to be. But I went to a
Uh-huh.
conference once in Sedona, and she's giving a presentation and talking, and there were several presenters that were talking about, like, I'm an amazing psychic, I'm an amazing remote viewer, I've worked with the FBI, I've worked with polices, and let me tell you what's wrong in the spiritual community. Too many people think they're on my level. You ain't on my level. You can't really remote view like I remote view. The best you're doing is just imagining things and thinking that it's real. And I'm like, yeah, I can get down with that. Yeah, 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 because most people, yeah, it's just your imagination. And obviously, you have credentials where you've displayed accurate skills where law enforcement is using you, blah, blah, blah. And then, so multiple presenters were kind of speaking in that way. And then this one presenter was talking about incredibly vain, super, super vain, and talking about how she downloaded the true way of activating the chakra system, and talking about how, the chakra system being a vertical pillar. She's like, that's masculine, straight, vertical. And she's like, it actually, the chakras actually go to the spleen and to here and to that. And as she's saying that, I'm like, you're doing a spin-off of a human design chart. That's You saw a human design chart and you were like, I'm gonna spin that around and I can see I'm downloading how the chakras are actually supposed to be moving energetically. So I'm like, you're spinning off a human design chart. And then talking about how, making fun of, oh, everybody thinks they're Cleopatra, everybody thinks they were reincarnated or whatever, but all you guys are really not that special in your reincarnations. And she gives this whole spiel, but then towards the end, she's talking about ancient Atlantis, right? And she's like, ancient Atlantis, she's like, I feel a great burden about ancient Atlantis because I was the one who gave the keys to the one that destroyed Atlantis. And I'm like, you just went on this whole fucking presentation about everybody is so vain and delusional and thinking that there's someone special, but then you had to give yourself the most powerful past life that was not even being the one to destroy Atlantis, but the one to give someone keys to destroy Atlantis. So therefore, you hold this burden on. I was like, you are so full of shit. And, she's been on Journey to Truth. She's been on, she's world famous. People eat her shit up. But, I had interactions with her. I shook this woman's hand, and afterwards, I felt sick. Afterwards, I didn't feel like I was in the presence of somebody that embodies a divine Holy Spirit. I felt I was in the presence of somebody who is a shrewd, critical bitch. And I felt that sickness in my body. I'm just saying that. And there's so many people that are like that in the spiritual communities, and everyone just eats that shit up.
Well, and this goes back to why I say, when I say political, I mean the root core of the psychology behind politics, not necessarily right versus left. It's what is politics? It's winners and losers.
Hmm.
That's what it is.
Hmm.
And that competitive spirit of trying to, so you get all these people together, and this is why you hear people. I see people all the time who initially their information is like, cool, I can feel it from the heart, they had experiences,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden, see, it's never enough. It's like drug use, dude. It's like
Yeah.
alcohol. You're not getting the same dopamine hit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like,
And just to interject on that real quick, I can't tell you how many people where I've been in conferences where someone comes up to me and is like, "Aren't you tired of hearing this shit? Like they've been saying the same thing. I need something new. I need something new, something else that's going to get me high on a potential that's never going to happen."
right. I mean, it's kind of baked in, it's kind of built into this because you're seeking more, you want more crazy experiences. If you're not seeing UFOs every other day, what's wrong with me? Why do they get to see that?
Hmm.
But I don't think people understand the nature of perception in general. When I see something in the sky, dude, I don't go, those are Pleiadians.
Right now, me
You
neither.
know what I
I
say?
don't know.
You know what I say? I say, I have no idea
Yeah.
where I begin and where I end. And if I am not just shaking my own self with my consciousness and projected that shit,
Hmm.
I have no idea. And so
Hmm.
I just leave it where it is. And there's this guy that talks about this that I've watched several hours of. He's not in our circles, he's outside. Uh, Gillis is his last, Nathaniel Gillis. Have you seen this guy?
Maybe.
He looks like a guy that would be, he's got the look of a guy that would be drinking Guinness in an Irish bar. He's
All
got
right.
that kind of look to him.
Hmm.
But I'm not sold on him by any means. He's interesting. It's worth looking into for a minute or two. But he has interviewed hundreds of people and he's an investigative person on the paranormal, but he comes to a completely different conclusion. And where he's starting to come to is that he thinks that there is a common source for almost all paranormal experiences and that it's coming from one type of group of beings and they generate these experiences through orbs because there's orb sightings around
Hmm.
Sasquatch. There's orb sightings around dogman encounters, UFOs. There's this orb presence to hauntings,
Hmm.
right? And it's just I don't want to go too far into it, but he makes kind of a halfway compelling case that wow, what if this? It's seek and you shall find,
Yeah.
but also be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know if there's a deceptive energy that's giving us angels at times.
Right.
Just like the Hillary Clinton dream. I mean, that was her,
Yeah.
dude, but it
Yeah.
was fake. And the Trump dreams people are having, I
Yeah.
think they might be implanted. But we, and people use the word discernment all the time.
Hmm.
But I feel like the people that say that word the most have the least in some cases.
Yeah, and and it all goes to one fundamental principle of being a magician, of being an alchemist, that no one that from what I've seen, no one is actually really practicing, which is know thyself. You know, who are you? Both your light and your shadow, both your conscious and your conscious, both your desires and your fantasies, both your hate and your love. Like, who are you? And if you until you know who you are and you're actively working to know who you are, we're so prone to deceiving ourselves every fucking minute of the day.
Dude, totally. And when I've engaged in sort of like hermetic kind of things for over the course of years and like it's you the whole time
Yeah,
when I thought I
yeah,
was the whole time I thought I was being attacked. And holy shit, will the world conform to that? It'll come from every, and yeah, there are free will individuals that do screw with us sometimes,
yeah,
but
yeah.
90% of the things that were coming at me
Hmm.
were me coming at me.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I even in my last video, astrological video, with there being so much Scorpio energy going on, Scorpio is the archetype that comes from the eighth house, and this is when we get into the underworld and where we are experiencing the elements of death and decay and secrets and things that are operating in the shadows and the unconscious. And in Scorpio in the eighth house is also the domain of the occults and secrets and taboos and sexual energy. And so Scorpio's darkness, it's creepy, it's spooky, and it's also very psychological. And in that video, I was describing like, have you ever gone out into the wilderness and sat in the dark and experienced through an observing way what happens in your mind being in the dark? Because if you haven't done that, if you've never been put yourself in a place in the dark and witness how crazy your own mind will go trying to scare the shit out of you, your eyes will dilate trying to search for more light, and in that process your brain is getting confused at what it's looking at, where in the different hues of shadows between trees and shrubs you might be thinking you're seeing something, all sorts of lights and flickers, sparks may happen. Your
Oh
heart
yeah.
may start to, go crazy. You might hear things, and the way you're going to interpret it, and the way your mind is going crazy. And then also beneath the surface, what's happening is, hormones are being released, adrenaline, cortisol, all these things, your heart, because you're in fear state and your reptilian brain is going out of control. So
And you're doing it, and you're doing it on
you're
purpose.
doing it. You're creating the devil. You're creating the shadows. You're creating all the things, the voices and shit. Because I used to do that. I used to intentionally put myself in the dark, out in the wilderness, just to experience how fucking crazy my own mind is, and then tell myself, okay, is this a choice or is this real? Can I switch? Do I have to be afraid? Am I actually being threatened by something? Am I actually being watched by something? And the moments where I was able to actually switch and let go and not be afraid of the darkness, not be afraid of being out in the wilderness, of whether if it's an animal predatory or some supernatural predatorial thing, that's when I would actually feel that I'm connecting with you know, something really supernatural,
Yeah.
something real. And yeah, we can be tricked by things. There's all sorts of things that can be tricked. Um, but for me, when I would get to those points, like the the downloads I would get would be very, very real. Yeah, but that's anyways, going back, like
Well,
that's
we pay. Think about it. People who don't even think about the things we're talking about pay money to get scared.
yeah, yeah, they do. They do. They do. That's why horror films are so big.
Right, right. Or
They want to
haunted
experience
houses. Like,
that thrill.
well, and Alan Watts. I'll butcher the exact quote, but he said basically we're individuated pieces of God hiding from itself on
Yeah.
purpose. You come into these realms and you erase your identity, your source, to make a game of finding it again. Like there's
Mhm.
a beautiful playfulness to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yes.
so and
Yes.
so I like my like frustrations oftentimes aren't directed at those who pick this side or that side. It's more like you're not why aren't you trying to like do cool shit? Like for real cool shit and like have fun with this thing and it just seems like people are more interested in just having their own experience.
Hmm.
Like, here's what happened to me. It's me. It's kind of me,
It
me.
is. It is. It is. And there's this video that I saw and I fucking love it so much because again, it ties into this whole Neptune and Pisces era that we're finishing up. It's going to be finished by January, February of next year. But it tie everything that I'm wanting to talk about ties into this Neptune and Pisces era, this mini age of deception and trying to escape. Um, this Indian woman from India. She's making a video. She's like, why are all these like starseed, love and light people that do psychedelics, eat mushrooms, or go ayahuasca, when they come out of ceremony, they think they're all this and that, and they're talking to aliens and they're gonna ascend into 5D and then she brings up this really valid point. What's wrong with volunteering? What's wrong? What's wrong with volunteering? What's wrong with cooking for the homeless? What's wrong with doing that kind of work? But instead, we're in these other untangible fucking stories that we're telling people. Oh, I saw my fucking, my Arcturian blue being self, and I'm supposed to be a shaman and heal people. Then it's like, okay, well then go volunteer at your
This
local
is
homeless shelter.
this is what I said to my wife because I started having some disagreements with old friends in the community, and it's irreconcilable. On the one hand, maybe someday things will come back together. When people give up all of the political belief systems, then I'll be like, oh, but I'm not mad at anybody or anything like that. but she was a little upset because a lot of these people were like there when we got together and met each other, me
Oh,
and my
wow.
wife. And I said, honey, like, let's just help people. Like when I come back to Taiwan, because the government won't let my wife in, even though twice, like she's been denied. So of course I'm not going to love Trump as much as you do. Like, why, like this is making my life a lot harder.
Hmm.
Um, I go, let's just volunteer and do stuff. And she's like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's way more power in helping than there is in like, I was talking to the Pleiadians and like,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I don't know why, like in the 70s and 80s, dude, service to humanity, that
Yeah.
side, that
Yeah.
serving side, that was a huge component
Mm.
and it's gone, dude. it's
Mhm.
it's like I'm sure people in the new age-ish modern spirituality help their friends out for sure, just like everybody else. But
Right.
at no point why didn't someone with a platform at one point just go, oh my god, let's all fucking pick a time and heal, send light to Gaza or
Yeah.
any place where there's an atrocity. It doesn't even occur to them.
Hmm.
They're like, that's like
Yeah. Did you
that's like
watch the new
listening.
Farsight Institute video? That's what it is. Like Farsight said this, Farsight said that, or some other bullshit, you know?
Can I just tell you that I get the worst feeling from Courtney Brown the last like 3 or 4 times I tried to watch him? There's something amiss. There's something just a little bit off. I'm totally interested in remote viewing. I think
Absolutely, absolutely.
absolutely
There's
people can
there's
do it.
something that's kind of there. There's a hint of inauthenticity that I think perhaps you and I are detecting. There's something inauthentic. There's something happening. I'm not sure what it is, but it's
I think it's the thing that happens to everything that generates money.
yeah, I was gonna say money.
How many times in your life have you heard someone talk about, let's say, a musician and go, "Oh, I'm super into their older, like their later shit, like the new stuff." No
Yeah.
one says that because at the birth of creation, their struggle. Early rock and roll bands are just like, ugh. They just moved out of their parents' house. They got in fights. They're like their girlfriends are breaking up. There's all this like crazy real emotion. And
Mm.
then if they reach success in the spiritual community, in music, in Hollywood, people treat you differently. They
Yeah.
kiss your asses. You
Yeah.
see people with like low level.
Yeah. And they don't question anything. They don't challenge anything that you have to say. They won't challenge it because then if you challenge it, then everyone's gonna, say what's wrong with you for challenge you. Oh, you don't get it. You're not getting it. You're struggling with something.
See, and that's
Yeah.
that's where I had to pull off. I got basically yelled at in a thread with a pretty good friend because I just had to say the truth as I saw it at that moment. And it was basically like it centered around when the Trump people were meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell and moved her to a sweet new like fake jail where she gets to like play tennis. And she was saying Trump never did anything appropriate. Like the woman who he just gave a sweetheart deal to said he didn't do anything. And they're like,
Hmm.
I believe her. And
Hmm.
I went into the thread and I go, dude, I don't know if Trump is like a pedo or this or that. I go, but listen, man, I go, the music I listened to in the 70s and the 80s, all of those dudes that I looked up to, they slept with 17-year-old girls. They just did. The Beatles did. I go, all of my old heroes, and you're telling me that a billionaire in the 80s and the 70s didn't slip up and they attacked me in the thread and said, you're bringing negativity in here. And that's when I just go, okay, we're going on a break.
Hmm.
And because I questioned their hero.
Yeah.
And dude,
Yeah.
like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
if Trump all of a
Yeah.
sudden tomorrow started doing really cool shit that helped people, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I
Right.
have no hatred for anyone,
Yeah.
but I'm also not going to worship people. And
Right. Right. Right.
there, there's this pedestal. I mean, dude, the
Well,
amount of reverence given to even mid-level conference holders, and this sort of like the amount of women that come and try to, it's just like
hmm.
it ruins. These people have really good intentions when they begin, and a
Yeah.
lot of them stay pretty cool too. They don't take the bait,
Yeah.
but it changes their dynamic too, even though they don't want that.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
anyone like
everyone
giving?
get- everyone gets lost in the sauce, everyone
Mhm.
gets lost in all these saucy feelings and imaginations and things like that where people get lost from what started them up, like how you were saying. And this also things we're talking about also ties back into the Neptune and Pisces and the fact that we have been transitioning out of a very long age of Pisces cycle. These long cycles last like 2000, 2500 years, and we've been in the age of Pisces. And when you go to these conferences, they'll say the same thing. We're going to be entering into the age of Aquarius, and the age of Pisces is ending, and this is what the age of Aquarius is going to bring, and blah blah blah. And we're the way I see it is we're in between. We're in between the ending and in between the beginning. We're in between the ending of the age of Pisces and in the beginning of the age of Aquarius. We're not fully into the age of Aquarius, but we're not fully out of the age of Pisces. We're finishing it up. And one of the biggest things that people know about the age of Pisces is idol worshiping, religion and idol worshiping, and worshiping something outside of you, right? That was one of the whole arcs of what humanity is supposed to
That's
learn
what the last 2,000 years
about the
was.
last 2000 years is idol worship. And we're experiencing that right now with celebrities, with Trump, with popular people in all the different spiritual communities or other types of communities is outside of us, something outside of us. And
Well, you know what's kind of neat is that all of this infighting that is making people fret, and all of these sort of heroes, even if they became a hero in the last year and then sort of had a tiny fall from grace, or there's something beautiful about it undermining itself
Mhm,
because it won't let anyone actually stay at the top.
mhm.
They might get like their little crowd. Like you could go to like Galactic Spiritual Informers thing, and you're going to get 2,000 people who think that these are gods, but that's not. You're going to find 100,000 that go something ain't. So all of these archetypes that are raising are going to get taken down
Yeah.
because it's built in. And even though it looks ugly for a second, it's actually good. We don't need idols anymore.
No, we don't. We don't. And like that's one of the ways I've been seeing it too. And I've gotten into those waves too of like, okay, well then yeah, I see it now.
Totally.
Yes. I see it now. We're working with the white hats and we got to trust the plan. I've swam in those waters too.
Totally.
But now, I've also gone out of those waters and be like, you know what, I'm drowning in this and I'm lost again and I'm confused. I don't know. And then I always go back to the astrology, like and reminding myself, we are in a mini age of deception, and the age of Pisces is coming to an end. How are we seeing this on the world stage? And on the world stage, we're seeing, at least in our types of communities, we're seeing Trump looked at as the savior, something outside of us. He is the one. He is the chief in command. He is the White Hats asked him to play this role. He was never in the club. All these glorious things. And then now we have more fluff added to it. His wife is actually a Pleiadian. His wife is actually, the granddaughter of Anastasia. All these sort of glorious tall tale tales, of looking outside of us and saying, yes, real, real, real. It's gonna happen. There are things, 5D chess that's happening. We just have to trust the plan. But the whole major story arc, the whole big theme of the age of Pisces is idol worshiping and coming outside of that. So everything that we are seeing with this is my stupid diagram, but
Yeah.
everything that we are seeing, it's to remind us we're doing it again. We're doing it again. We're coming towards the end of this and we're doing it right now. The power is within me. The power is within us. And we have to do something as individuals rising together to stop all this madness. And until that happens from an individual point with us in taking action, and this is where we're going into next with Saturn and Neptune going into Aries is action, conflict, and initiation, something brand new where there's going to be
Mhm.
a whole lot more fighting involved, like actual violent fighting. And it's, I think coming towards the end of this whole age of Pisces era is in what we're seeing on the world stage is again a reflection. Like it's reflecting, tricking us and laughing at us like you're still not getting it. You're still not getting it. It's not about any politician that's
Well, and it's expressing itself as absurdity
yes,
now, right? Like
yes,
because it has to.
yes, yes.
Because it's like the last sort of convulsions of a dying animal are the most powerful.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like another way I can describe it is, my relationship with my mom,
Yeah.
Um she recently passed away.
Mhm.
But my mother was a lifelong meth addict. So as a child, I had a lot of trauma, a lot of resentment towards her, experienced a lot of fucked up things in my household and everything. But as I started to get older, I started to realize, oh my God, I started to bow to my mother, like bow to her in respects to the being that she is beyond the flesh.
Yeah.
Understand, you're playing a role, like you're playing a role that's here to not only teach me, but to teach everybody that comes across your path.
Hmm.
And you as this amazing being that you are beyond this matrix, like you've chosen to incarnate and experience a lot of traumatic things so you can become this personality that will teach me how to see deeper, how to be more compassionate, and how to get over my own self. Because in order to understand what is going to be required out of me to get over myself to actually help others. And you
Hmm.
need help, and I'm here to help you. So as long as I stay in this level of the story of like, well, you were never there for me. You never made me lunch for school. You never did this. You were always high. All if I stayed in that level of resentment, then there would never be any healing for her or for me. So I had to learn to see that and like do my own work and not need something external to validate and say, I need you to acknowledge how fucked up you were so I can heal. I didn't need that. All I
Oh,
was
yeah, that's
able to heal
amazing.
myself and rise above all of that and enter a different space where I can see in a bigger picture and then reach my hand out to her. And because I already healed myself and acknowledged that I wouldn't be able to have this level of awareness if she didn't play her role. And that's what's happening on the world stage right now, is that
Beautiful.
there's a role being played for us to acknowledge what we need to do for our own self and then rise to the occasion. And I love what's happening in other countries, like what happened in Nepal, where the youth rose up and overthrew their government in Nepal, the whole Gen Z thing, and they're using an anime logo and all that sort of stuff. And I've been
Hmm.
saying like we're never going to see that in America. And the reason why we're never going to see that in America is because America has invested billions and billions and billions of dollars of conditioning, dividing, and programming its populace. So the youth can't come together and acknowledge that the number one problem is government and we need to overthrow it. That's Nepal. I highly doubt, I don't know anything about Nepal, but I highly doubt that Nepal has spent trillions, billions of fucking dollars to program their youth, to poison their youth from pharmacies, from pharmaceuticals, from food, and all that sort of stuff. So over there, the generation, they're more pure, they're more alive, they're more spiritually connected to their own selves, to the point where they could see the truth. They could see the number one
Yeah.
culprit, and it's the government. And they rose to the occasion themselves and took power, took control. We're never going to see that here, you know?
Well, so on that point, kind of a funny thing happened back during Occupy Wall Street when everyone was like, "Oh my God, we're getting ripped off." The
Right.
the right and the left came together in this really organic way, and the power structure was like, "We can never let that happen again."
Yeah.
So what they did, and people have done studies on this, at the moment that they sort of broke that up and um, or it's just sort of kind of withered away, but they were kind of together. The New York Times had like a 400% increase in race type of stories.
Mm.
So, and it was artificial. There wasn't an increase in racial tension. They just started feeding that narrative. How do we
Hmm.
pull those people apart?
Yeah.
There was another group a few years ago that was bringing together the right and the left. They were like, hey, listen, gays should be able to get married. I ain't got no problem with food stamps. Sometimes people want that. But also, screw war and, like the coolest parts of the right, the coolest parts of the left. And the system attacked that group and made them out to be Nazis, and they weren't. So they don't want us coming together.
Hmm.
And they're doing a pretty amazing job keeping us
Oh,
looking at
excellent. They're doing an excellent job. It's working far better than they'd ever imagined, in dividing us. They've
yeah.
built a machine to keep us divided. They've built algorithms. They've conditioned us for generations, so that they don't even really have to try anymore. It's just self-perpetuating in this division that we got going on. Um, but trying to think, there was something else I wanted to bring up with the whole yeah, I don't know. Anyways, but do you have any more things to add to this?
I really like how free flowing this has been. Um, I kind of wish I could listen to a podcast like this more often.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
I just hope that I wish that people, now this is my wish, but I just wish people would let go of these archetypes entirely. Like, I wish there were like a spiritual movement or big galas and festivals you could go to where everyone just sort of was like, nah, for real, the solution isn't out there. And for
mhm,
real, someone's not going to undermine the system from within. I mean, if we just started doing cool things for other people
yeah,
and combine our consciousnesses and actually put energy into those who need it.
yeah.
And kind of to build on that point, I wrote somewhere, I don't know if it was in my book or not, but there's there's no shortage of people that'll take $200, $300 an hour to heal your past trauma.
Yeah.
But no one wants to deal with the trauma happening now. You're a bummer if you bring it up. But what if we put the
Right.
love and resources, because those are, and then I was like, oh my God, the spiritual community is almost like the pharmaceutical industry. It's allowing the new traumas to occur because that's future business. And whether they think of that consciously or not, and 90% of them I'm sure do not, why is it so sexy to heal my past life? But if there's a genocide or there's horrible shit down the street, you're like, oh God,
Yeah,
drawing that, you're just manifesting that by
yeah,
paying attention to it.
yeah, yeah. And as someone who's a certified hypnotherapist, I don't do past life regressions. I've had people ask me, "Oh, can you? I want to book a past life regression with you." I don't do that. I don't
Good.
book past life regressions. I'm here to work with you in your issues that you have going on in the here and now. One thing I will do with you is a future life,
Yeah.
progression. We can look into your future life and see how glorious and beautiful the potentials of your future are, but I won't go back into the past. I won't go back and I won't do past life progressions. I don't do that. I rather work with your issues that you got going on here in this lifetime, or we can, look into the future and see what kind of things are possible for you in dreaming,
Yeah.
and people don't know how to respond to that, because they think they need to know their past life to integrate it in order to go forward.
Well, what most people really want is a cool story about a
Yeah.
past life. Dude, this was going on for a couple of years where I was bringing in and assembling past lives. And basically, what would happen to me is that this went on for many, many months, over a year. But I would envision this swirling recombining of all these aspects of myself. And in that stage right before sleep, I would get an entire life.
Wow.
Like in the same way that they say your life flashes before your eyes before you die. I
Hmm.
was getting these full lives. And dude, all of them were ordinary. But it was always a visual of where I lived and the inward flooding of emotions of every feeling I ever had, all the loves, the losses. And there just wasn't anything super sexy there. there was just we all have been recycled and are doing this,
Hmm.
and there's so many of these things, and even though these were ordinary existences, uh the tears would come, just because you feel that again. But
Hmm.
I think what people want to be magic,
Yeah.
and they want to skip all the hard work.
Yeah. 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 They do. Yeah. And you know, with the whole one of the things I've been saying about the whole transition of leaving the age of Pisces and going into the age of Aquarius, and with Neptune and Saturn getting ready to go into Aries, with Neptune going into Aries, this is a completion of a 165-year cycle. With Saturn going into Aries, this is a completion of a 30-year cycle. But Neptune and Saturn doing this together is extremely rare. The last time Neptune and Saturn did this together was in the mid 1500s, and the time before that was like year 2000,
Wow.
and yeah, so year 12,000. So in the it was like 12,002. So
uh,
12,002, that's when I think it was like the fourth or the third Crusades initiated,
yeah.
which then there was a huge invasion of the Crusades into Egypt, to eradicate all the Muslims all the way into Jerusalem, which then brought down the second fall of Rome.
Yeah.
And then at that same time, on the other side of the world, the first Incan emperor rose to power and started to create the city of Cusco in Peru.
Wow.
This was thousands of years ago. And then in the mid 1500s, we had the German Peasant War, where literally thousands of peasants were just massacred. And then at that time, that's when Spaniards first discovered, South America.
Yep.
And so then that time of the Incan Empire only lasted 300 years. And so, I'm pointing these timelines out because for hundreds of years, normal people all around the world, through their great, 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 great ancestral lineages,
Hmm.
gone through so many different eras of war, so many different eras of religious spiritual persecutions, so many different eras of displacements, of raping, of having to migrate, of losing your history. And all of that, all those memories, all that trauma is still in our blood, is still in our DNA. And with the coming towards the end of this Piscean age that we're experiencing right now, that karma energy is bubbling in all of us that are currently present right now, of experiencing displacement, being a refugee, of suffering, religious, spiritual persecutions. And we're seeing all of that in the forefront happening in our world right now.
Yeah.
It's it's everything bubbling to the surface, that what humanity has been doing to itself for the last 2,000 years, and for us to really realize, okay, we need to wake up to this and start moving into a whole new era.
Yeah.
So I do think it's still going to get a little bit more messier.
I
Uh,
think.
and one of the things that I've also been saying for a really long time, as an astrologer, is that we're not the ones. We are really not the ones. We're
Yeah.
the last of the Mohicans, but we're not the ones. The ones are the children. The ones are the children being born now and into the next several generations.
I
They're
agree.
the ones, because they're the ones that are not going to be born with the same generational placements that we're all born with, and they're going to be operating at a whole different frequency, where the shit that we're talking about and arguing about right now, they're going to be beyond that.
A
And
lot of them already are.
yes, yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I meet remarkable kids that blow my mind just accidentally in the world all the time. I'm
Mm,
like, and they're just, and that's why they're attacking kids. That's why they want to drug them up. They're trying to, the
yep,
people that want things to stay the way they are
yep,
trying to attack the kids. But there's something real powerful coming through kids right now.
yeah, incredibly powerful. And that's another thing I've been saying too for a while, because now Pluto is in Aquarius. And this is, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was about 250 years ago, a long time ago. But in this day and age, Aquarius is the energy that governs technology, humanity, society. It's this big collective global energy. It embodies a geniusness to it. Um, and so Pluto is the planet of death, destruction, rebirth, transformation, but also secrets. And one of the things I've been saying about Pluto going into Aquarius is that they're going to come after the children more harder than ever before, because opposite of the sign of Aquarius is Leo. And Leo is the energy that is governed by the sun and rules the heart and is the archetype of the childlike expression, just child energy. Leo governs children, the freedom and creativity of expressing, and opposite of Leo, Aquarius is the coldest sign. So if Leo represents the sun, the warmest sign, the warmest energy that resembles joy, fun, and creativity, Aquarius is furthest from the sun, which is cold and heartless. And Pluto is in Aquarius, which is the planet of death, and secrets. And Aquarius is the sign of technology and science. So humanity is moving to a point where they're not going to realize how cold and detached societies and structures are becoming from their heart and what we're doing to children. And also, one of the things that Pluto and Aquarius is going to reveal is just how real the dark web is and the things that are going on in the dark web, because the average person is not thinking about the dark web. The average person does not know how to access the dark web. And so one of the things that Pluto does is it reveals what has been kept hidden or secret or operating in the shadows. And if Aquarius rules the internet, then that means Pluto moving through Aquarius is going to reveal what has been operating, kept secret, or hidden in the dark web, in the internet. And because opposite of Aquarius is children, there's gonna be a lot of fucked up things going on right now. And so yeah, they are after the children right now through technology. And what's fucked up is that majority of the people that are not actively awake and aware of what's going on, they are not going to realize just how cold and detached society is becoming, how cold and detached society is growing from their heart connection to children. And
Yeah.
and that is very scary. Um, and that's a very scary potential in this modern world right now, because we're experiencing bold, loud, courageous people that are now saying it is their right to be an MAP and that it's normal and that it should be accepted, right? Right?
Yeah.
And so Aquarius governs social collective themes, right? And so now there is this outcasted taboo group of people that want to insert themselves and recondition, what is appropriate, what is normal. You get what I'm saying there?
Oh,
And so that is another huge forefront of what we're going to be fighting against with Pluto being an Aquarius, of people trying to insert and say that this is normal and that this is okay. And what's dangerous about Pluto being an Aquarius is that the potential for a mass collective to say okay and actually make it into a reality is far higher than it's ever been. And
oh
that
no.
right there is fucking alarming. There is a dude in New York right now who I don't remember his name, but I watched several videos of him. There's this guy who actively wants to run for like a city council or like a governor or mayor position in the state of New York, who is an MAP, a minor attracted person, and says that it's his fucking right, and he wants to become a political figure and change laws and change structures so that way he doesn't get punished and other people like him don't get punished when they consensually, rape a child and all that sort of stuff. And so, this is the kind of stuff we're seeing where people are getting more bolder in fighting for the things they believe in, Neptune going into Aries. And so, yeah, I'm going on a rant there, but
Well, it's kind of like, I mean, that low vibration of these people coming out of the woodwork, just trying to normalize this horrible shit, with some of the amazing children coming in and with other people's vibrations, and just, dude, shit's just vibrating higher from the sun, from everything. Things are going to break apart in the same way that an opera singer breaks a glass.
Mm.
And it doesn't mean the glass was bad,
Mm-hmm.
but there's going to be upheaval.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with it. I keep having this weird thought every once in a while, like, how come every time I incarnate, it's the end of the world? And
Mm.
I'm like, who put that thought there? But I feel like I jumped into the game to see something,
Yeah.
and I got to be okay with it. There's
Yeah.
going to be pain, there's going to be loss,
Yeah.
but I jumped into the game. I
Yeah.
jumped into the game.
Yeah.
And these energies, they just want to explode. They
Yeah.
do. And
Yeah.
I mean, the Earth is going through the volcanic and the seismic activity in the Earth is increasing. I think the whole chemtrailing and all the weather manipulation is more so was initially an attempt to cover up the damage that they did. They were blowing up nukes. Russia and the US were blowing up nukes in the upper atmosphere in the 60s. They permanently ruined the ozone. Then
Mm-hmm.
they tried to blame it on our hairspray back then. They're like, you can't use chlorofluorocarbons.
Right.
It's always the new original sin. We're doing it. It's our
Right.
breath
Right.
while they fly around in jets. No, so they tried to cover up their past crimes and the damage.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's causing damage. And so they're doing all this shit. And also there's an entire economy of this. But whether or not that any of that shit happened or not, even if climate engineering never happened, this earth was about to go through changes because the frequencies are ramping up.
Yeah.
And celestially, a lot of things are happening. And it's like the best of humanity and the worst of humanity are.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And in a way, like letting go is just doing your part to feed the highest good that you can, but also be letting go of the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes things are going to disintegrate in front of your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a question. Like, what do you think about, people talking about the death trap? Like when you die, you're not gonna like you're just gonna reincarnate because we're in a death trap.
Okay, well, so in 2017, I was finishing up a very weird album because I'm a musician. I put out a lot of shit. If anyone wants to check it out, it's
Yeah.
bengordonshow.bandcamp.com. I got like 12 albums, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this real weird, I don't even know where the shit's coming. I was having a very strange year. I was having a lot of Matrix shit happening, seeing entities, hauntings. It's all in my book. If anyone wants to check out my book, by the way, and maybe you can put a link underneath. I don't know, but
Yeah, I'll do that.
Ben Gordon, I Keep Not Dying is the name of the book.
Okay.
Um, I had written a song that was a farce. It was like I sang in a fake voice as like a Southern Baptist preacher, and it was called "Do Not Go Into the Light."
Mm-hmm.
And it was like basically like, if you die, do not go into the light, because then you'll come back to life and write a book about it. Do not go into the light. And then in the bridge, these AI voices come in harmony and start saying, go into the light, go into the light, while the preacher's like, no, don't go into the light. And that song, along with one called Ones and Zeros, which was written about a vision I woke up and had of seeing the Big Bang with ones and zeros underneath it. Like the digital realm was created at the same time, or the Big Bang, the physicalness is the Matrix, is all fake. It's all ones and zeros. And as I was uploading my album to the Bandcamp website, I had one song left to upload, and the second it said complete, that computer shut down.
Oh,
That
wow.
was a Mac desktop. My iPhone shut down. My Chromebook shut down,
Oh,
and
shit.
a Windows computer shut down. These are not on iCloud. Windows is not on. They're not communicating with each other.
Wow.
Every single device I had got a virus.
Wow.
And dude, it was a clear sign, like you were singing about the thing that you're not supposed to. So
Wow.
I think the death trap. I think the death trap. I believe there is some truth to it.
Mm.
there's a con game going around with a group of entities, archontic entities, that are able to pull souls away and trick them back into reincarnating or whatever based on the heavy dutiness of their own beliefs. If
Mm-hmm.
you die without belief, or you die in suspended disbelief and go, whatevs, baby,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any expectations, they don't target those souls.
Mm.
They're there to give a holographic projection of your mom or dad and get your emotions to pull you back.
Right.
I don't think it's a planet-wide phenomenon. I think it's real. I think the Gnostics knew about this, the demiurge and all this stuff. I think it is a real phenomenon, but I don't think it's like a foregone conclusion. There's some very heavy-duty doom and gloomers that think this entire thing is a joke because our memory gets wiped and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but they haven't thought it through. We don't remember all of our dreams all of the time because
Right.
if we did, we would go bananas.
Yeah.
If we remembered every single thing we said earlier this morning and kept a working inventory, we would go bananas.
Yeah.
There's something beautiful about forgetting
Yeah. Yeah.
because then you get to find it again.
Right.
It's sort of like imagine if you thought about ice cream all day. No, dude, you like when you have ice cream, you're like, oh, that's right, ice cream exists.
Right.
Every time you read
Right.
this, you're like, oh, fuck, that's right, ice cream.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
forget
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
Like, so there's something beautiful and poetic about how we forget this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I like guys like Howdy Bukowski. I like guys like Tony Sayer. I like guys that have ideas about this and that read, Plato. And I think there's something to all of it. I just don't think that there's any super foregone conclusions. I think we're a little bit more in control than we think.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. I haven't put too much thought into that. I mean, I'm aware that people have been saying that, and I did watch a Farsight video where they were remote viewing Jesus going into the death trap and how they got Jesus into the death, and it's all
It's
yeah, and it was
like
all
a South Park episode.
yeah, right, for reals. Yeah. And I don't know what to make of it. I can see how it's possible, how because anything's possible. I can see like how they can do that. But you know, I I want to believe that that there is a divine higher power that can override all of that stuff, and how do we get to that point of overriding just all of this, matrix, this, death trap or whatever, and actually go, is it a
Well,
matter?
do you know the guy? So, do you know the guy Tom Campbell who wrote My Big Toe, My Big Theory of Everything?
No.
He's got to be in his 80s now, but he went to the Monroe Institute, learned how to remote view and astral travel, and basically through years and years and years of astral traveling, um, he had met a lot of entities along the way, and his I'm just sort of really hyper condensing his view, and I'm not saying I believe it. I think there's something to it. I think like everything makes me go like, huh. eh. That's as far as I go. But what he explains makes sense energetically. So why wouldn't there be matrices, right? Why wouldn't there be? Look at what we do naturally. We create video games and movies and real people pretend to be fake people, and we watch that. We're like driven to create realities that aren't real, whatever. So the key, according to Tom Campbell, from the creator's perspective, would probably be everyone learns the lessons, but don't use the most energy. Well, what uses the least amount of energy? And to battle entropy, the breaking down of everything. So a a a like holographic reality that you jump into to learn this lesson or this or whatever is easily the least amount of energy taken from the universe. So why would you always? And do we know if physical shit is real? Do we? Right. So if it is though, if there is an element of heaviness to physicality on one dimension, you could learn all your lessons in the same way that you watch a safety video before you join UPS as a seasonal driver. Do
Hmm.
they need to take you out on the road and physically show you the accidents that could happen? No, that would take so much energy and money.
Right.
So he thinks that that basically that the our highest selves are off site
Hmm.
and basically running the program for our avatars to come in, and we purposely chose to kind of come and learn these lessons.
Yeah,
It's
I
just a different
easily
way.
get that. Yeah.
It's just a slightly different way of looking at what the regular New Age, like Dolores Cannon, believes. That
Right.
see, I think it's a little trickier than that. I had to unfollow Dolores Cannon's group a couple of years ago because all of the comments were making excuses for every horrible thing that happened to children. And they're like, well, they chose that. I'm like, what? They chose to be alive for 4 days and then to get blown up. What
Mm-hmm.
did they learn? Do you know what I mean? They're like, that's just what they chose. I believe there's an element of us choosing, an interplay, but it isn't all we chose everything because other entities have free will too. It's kind of demonic to think that we chose everything, isn't it? A little bit like it's a little egotistic, like we do everything. What
Yeah.
about other? Where's the space for other? Are there other entities or is it just us?
Yeah, yeah, that yeah, I don't think it's 100% us all the time. I think, there's what we sort of kind of set out for ourselves, and we say, okay, I'm gonna go in there, but then there's there's a whole lot of things that can hijack or deviate us.
Or make it way cooler?
Yeah, or make it way cooler. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. You know, yeah, I agree with that, because there are trickster energies, there are things that can, take you on side quests and all of that sort of stuff. But even then, with all the side quests and the trickster energies, like in the end, like I always come back home to myself and maybe I wasted a year, but I've learned a whole lot more, and I always find myself back to, my original trajectory and what I believe I'm supposed to be on. Uh,
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we have to keep coming back to. It's like I always make like musical analogies because I'm always making music, and I there's so many things I can do every single day to just make things better for myself and to make other people around me happy, which will grow my spirit. The little things. I
mhm,
gotta always remind myself to do the little things every day
mhm.
because the analogy being, what if I was making an album and the entire time thought this is never going to get done, it's never going to make it, no one's even going to like it anyway. That's kind of what we do with our spirituality.
Mm, mhm.
I want to make it. I want to.
Yeah,
I hope this happens when this. But shit,
yeah,
man. In the meantime, there's so many practical things, and it's like when people get really flipped out about the Matrix, and
yeah.
they're like, or they because I'll do sessions occasionally for cheap because fuck that, I'm not charging people a bunch of money.
Mhm,
And people, there's been several people who've been like, dude, what if it's not real? Like, what if? How do I know what's real? And I'm like, who cares?
mhm.
Like, I go, ultimately, are you going to eat today? Are you going to eat? And they're like, well, yeah. Okay. Are you going to take a dump in the morning? Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're always going to come back. You're
Mhm.
always going to come back to that lowest common denominator. That's where the work is. It's not up here. It's
Right.
not like, and so shit, dude. If I could get myself together enough on those basic building blocks, I'd be way better off. And I'm doing a little
Yeah.
better. I
Yeah.
went through the phase of, oh shit, I'm a super soldier
Right.
because I had a number of experiences that would
Right.
mirror that before I knew that term.
Yeah.
But I let them all go
Yeah.
because, okay, then now what? Am I going to wrap that into my identity, make a
Right.
full size 3D fucking super soldier suit to show everyone on Facebook that I keep
Right.
it? That's me. And, or get mad at everyone on the internet because I'm young and dumb and say you don't understand how much trauma I've been through. Listen to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel sorry for myself.
Right.
However, I
Yeah.
did for a minute and it sucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing cool comes from that.
No, 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 no. Yeah, I love what you're saying there, and I've kind of am at that same point too. Because I also with the super soldier thing, like I know I've been through some shit,
Yeah.
like I have
I
I
saw your first James Rink video and I was immediately like, that dude is for real.
thank you, I appreciate
That was
that.
the one where you said some shit always came from the left side that
Yeah,
attacked you. Dude,
yeah,
I wrote about the same thing in the book I put out.
mm,
Always from the left.
yeah,
Always from
yeah, and it is always from the left. Yeah, and like it took me years to, that whole journey of like, am I a super soldier? Was I taken? And actually remembering things, and I've come to the point of like, okay. Yeah, it happened. A lot of these things happened.
yeah.
But I don't want to make it my identity. I don't want to make it, who I am right now because it's dark, and for a minute I thought I needed to be like the other people on Journey to Truth or James Rink's Super Soldier Talk, where they're able to like recall and tell you I was commander of fucking Starfleet, whatever this shit, and
Yeah, yeah.
we did. This is what I remember the torture was about and what my training was about. And I thought that that's what I needed to do was to remember. But then again, know thyself, right? I had to ask myself, why? Why do I actually want to remember, or is that something I think I need to do? And if it's, and whatever it is, why do I feel this push to remember? And it's for validation. That's what the root was. It was for acceptance, approval, and validation of everybody else that could potentially hear my story. Once I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, it's just, just another
Well,
tr
you're also looking for community.
yeah, and yeah, that too. Um, yeah, that too. But then it was, I realized like, okay, it was more of an ego thing,
Sure.
when when I already know it's real, because like when you go to these conferences, people ask you like, well, how much do you remember? Have you done a QHTT thing and all this sort of stuff? As if you haven't, done check these things off the box, then you're not, worthy of being listened to, But one of the things that I also started to see was, okay, like one of the fundamental principles that a lot of amazing spiritual and thought leaders, such as Alan Watts, all say is like, be in the here and now, be present, And I started to acknowledge, okay, every time I go back into the past, every time I try to remember, or every time I'm, going into that zone, I'm further tearing myself apart. I'm further fracturing myself because I'm going into the past and I'm not being in the present. And then I also started to think like, okay, well, if I am this badass soul that chose to incarnate here so I can play some type of role to help humanity, is doing this work and being in this social bubble of trying to remember what happened to me in the programs contributing to the overall greater mission? It's not. It's actually what's the opposite of progressing me? It's holding me back. It's actually bringing me out of alignment of what my mission is. And also, if I'm supposed to embody and integrate the fact that I am this badass soul that comes from, another star system, or I'm, a powerful multi-dimensional being, and that's why the secret space program, sought me out and recruited me, shouldn't I be able to access some level of higher understanding where the mundane trauma isn't really as powerful?
That's
Right?
it. Dude,
Right?
I feel I without like it's almost hard to say it out loud, but there was a point by which I went above all of that and knowing that I had been used for stuff, and I just said nah.
Hmm.
There. So if you say nah, from here,
Yeah.
boom, boom. If you say from here, they're like, oh,
Hmm.
you have to be coming from the right angle. You have to do it from above, and we
Hmm.
have a higher self,
Hmm.
and everything stopped.
Hmm.
All like for the most part.
Hmm.
I mean, occasionally there'll be some like like a recent, for instance. So my phone used to type on its own all the time, open up browsers, all
Same.
electronic shit, all
Yeah.
the way back since my like gray abduction shit in the 90s.
Mm.
There's always electronic stuff. like with abductee shit.
Hmm.
But since I met my wife, I knew that she protects me. Like I've never felt. I'm laying next to her for the first like few months, and I'm like, I'm not afraid of nothing.
Yeah.
And here's her. She's like, I've never seen a UFO. I'm like, dude, you are doing stuff. Like, you have such a strong protection energy. Um, so all the sort of interference since I met her, for the most part, went away. But the other night, I dreamt that I was trying to text, and my phone was going berserk. It was just doing the thing. It was typing what it wanted, and I woke up and I'm like, oh God, I'm so glad that doesn't happen anymore. It started happening. So it
Hmm.
started in the dream, and then it carried into
Hmm.
for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But what it was looking for was for me to get into that agitated state, and I never. I was like, carry on.
Right.
If you're not agitated for whatever reason,
Yeah.
they give up so easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
People that take your energy, that are evil, that do shit, they lose interest immediately when you don't play their game,
Yeah. Yeah.
because their whole idea is predicated on taking that which that isn't theirs in the first place. They're
Hmm.
not working for it. So
Hmm.
if you give them
Hmm.
what they want, they just kind of like go move on to the other another person or whatever.
Yeah. 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 That's very true. I mean, we even see that in bullies, like like when we tell children like, oh, well, just don't give any attention to the bully. It actually works,
It does.
it actually works because that is really what's happening. They're looking for the attention. That's what they want. They're trying to take
Yeah.
that from you. And I love what you were saying about, the shift of things that happened since you got married with your wife, because I've experienced the same sort of
Yeah.
shifts, that she's also for me this huge, bubble of protection. And yeah, we've both experienced some things since we've been together, with t certain targeting things happen. But over this past summer, she kind of really expressed herself in a way that I had to really consider, because she got tired of all this shit. She's like, I'm tired of this shit. Like it's all dark, it's all fucking bad. I worry about you. I worry about our safety. I worry about all this sort of stuff. And she's like, can't we just fucking put it down, And people in the community, they might hear something like that and they'd be like, she's a handler.
Oh God.
She's a handler. She's trying to put you to sleep, things like that, but that's not what this situation is. And I had to really think, and coming from a place of really loving my wife of, she's right. There's not a whole lot of good that's coming out of this at all. And I already feel fulfilled in knowing that my what happened to me was real.
Yeah.
And I don't need validation from anybody, so I don't need to go on a podcast. I don't need to go to a conference and say that and try to make money off of it, because that's not what the healing experience is for me about that.
Right.
The healing experience for me is that, yeah, it happened and parts of me were taken, but I'm taking that back now. And
Totally.
and what I want in life is to live a happy whole life. I
Yeah.
want to own a home. I want to, be able to make money and doing something that I love. And I want to be able to invest my heart into creating something that tips the scales of all the negative creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel the same way there, and I feel so blessed to have my partner, to have my wife, because she's just, not in this at all. Same thing like with the UFOs and the experiences, when we started, getting to know each other, and I was like, if we're gonna go anywhere, you should know right away, like I'm a targeted individual. I was taken when I was a kid, blah blah blah. My mom was also part of the programs and all this shit, and she was aware of it. She watched a lot of Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia, so she heard a lot of the stories and
Yeah.
stuff, but never experienced anything. And throughout our years together, she'd always say like, well, am I not special? How come I never experienced any of this shit? And I appreciate that about her. I value that about her because it's so different than what I've experienced in my own craziness. And what I've been wanting my whole life is like steadiness, being centered and steady,
No,
you
it
know.
had to be her, dude.
Yeah.
I needed a calming presence, a balancing something, and it's pulled me so much down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean we can't go off and visit these worlds and speak about them for periods of time, but it's just we need those protector spirits, those kind of normalizing agents in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kept looking for the girl that was weirder than me. And of course it ended up like celebrity train wreck
Right.
because you're just like both crazy.
Yeah.
And I can't underplay the fact that I stopped abusing substances like maybe 3.5 years ago. That in no short order made things way easier.
Right.
Dude, I mean, everything like a little bit of alcohol, dude, and the game changes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even mean getting wasted. I mean, alcohol itself
Yeah.
will change the game for
Yeah.
people like me. It
Yeah.
just weird shit happens
Yeah.
around that. So, I mean, besides like a little bit of weed and like
Yeah.
microdosing shrooms,
Mm-hmm.
where I get a little bit, that's just kind of like a maintenance thing. I don't need to get, I bought some DMT this year and I smoked it a few times, but it wouldn't, I don't have the normal experience that other people. Something else happens to me, which I can't even explain what it is. But it isn't
Yeah.
like it's not like robot elves. I
Right.
go to other places. No, it's different. But I also, after a certain point, was like, no, I don't need that either. When I meditate with my eyes open, I can make the whole world go away.
Yeah.
Like it just dissolves. And
Yeah.
I did that as a function of not being able to shut my brain off. If you open your eyes and find
Mm-hmm.
like I'm looking at it right now, dude, there's just green grass.
Mm-hmm.
It makes daydreaming is meditating. My whole
Mm-hmm.
life growing up in school, he's daydreaming. No, I'm
Yeah.
meditating, bitch.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
connecting
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
subconscious and the conscious mind. What are you
Yes.
talking about?
Yes. Yes.
Because people are like, I don't know how to meditate. Nope, yeah, you do. You're
Yeah.
doing it already. I guarantee it. You know
Yeah.
when you're driving, but you don't know where you are, but you didn't crash.
Yeah.
Meditating.
Yep. Yep.
So it's like there's a looseness and a fluidity to everything where I'm always a little bit tripping,
Mm-hmm.
but in this super gentle, controlled way. And instead of saying, whoa, I go, oh.
Yeah. That I love that, and I'm right there with you on the substances. I was actually talking about it with my wife yesterday. Of like, and she laughs, because she's not. We're completely different, and
Yeah.
and she laughs, and it's like, okay, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand, honey. I've been smoking weed since I was 14 years old, so it's like it's taken a really long time to be at this point where an entire week goes by. And I'm like, oh, I have not smoked any weed in the last 7 days. Cool. I didn't even thought about it. Whereas
Yeah.
before it was like, wake up, pack a bowl, smoke some weed, and just like high all the time. And the struggle I dealt with trying to go through moments of like, I'm not gonna smoke today, but then unconsciously before I leave the house, I take a rip from the bong, and then I'm like, fuck, I did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, being at that point with substances and where it's not controlling you
Well,
anymore.
that's forgetting about it like you described. That's where you want to be.
Yeah,
That's it's always been that way for me with weed. Like I'll buy a bag and smoke it, and then I literally forget it's there. And I'm like, oh yeah.
nice.
But weed to me never made me high. It always moved me just over here a little tiny bit. I
Mm,
never felt better.
hmm
I felt a little different,
hmm
but I think the best buzz there ever was is the the microdose buzz when you get that right with mushrooms, where it's just a little bit in your body,
Yeah,
but it actually just shuts down the internal dialogue, and you're more like in perceptive mode, and you let things go a little bit.
yeah,
It's really good for the mental health.
yeah. I love that. I love that space too. I I sometimes when I get in that space though, that's when because I'm really psychic.
Yeah.
I am way more psychic than I even give myself credit for. Like I'm very sensitive. I've every time I talk to Kim on the phone, she reminds me, dude, don't forget, like you are extremely psychic. And I've been this way since I was an entire kid, since I was a kid. But I think because of my environment and my upbringing, I don't really see myself as psychic all the.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But when I take just the smallest amount of shrooms, it's like I become aware of all the psychic receptors that I have open all the time.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's sometimes it can be a little too intense for me because what comes along with that is I can literally hear and sometimes see the frequencies that are targeting me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so sometimes it can be a little intense, and I have to do a lot of work to, shield up and not be it's just right. An octave just dropped in my pressure just dropped in my ear, and there's a ringing going on my left
Oh,
side.
dude. Same
Yeah,
thing happens to me. You does it?
it just
Dude, I've just
sharp ear ringing penetration just happened right now.
and it lasts like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
The tone,
it's
but
gone
right
now.
before
Yep.
the way I described this, and no one else. It's so weird that you're saying this. No one else. Try to tell people what the sensation is that you just had,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Oh, you mean when this?" And it's never the right thing. But the feeling you get in your stomach when you fall in a dream, it happens in my head.
Hmm.
Woo, and
Yeah.
then beep.
Yeah.
What
Yes.
the fuck is that?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but I was just talking about being able to literally see and feel and hear the frequencies, of the targeting, and that went boom, shing.
It feels like a targeting, dude. It happens to me. It is the most unnerving feeling before the ringing starts. So I have tinnitus as it is.
Yeah.
It's going bananas.
Yeah.
It sucks because I keep a fan on all the time to drown it out because it'll drive me bananas.
Hmm.
And I turn it off because we're talking. But it isn't that. Do you have tinnitus?
Yes.
There's no way to describe what that sound is like. It's not even a sound, but it's auditory. It's weird.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
tones I get after I fall inside my head real quick, it's like a whoop. The air gets sucked out of your whole being, and then it goes
Yeah.
beep, like a
Yeah.
hearing test.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know where it comes from, and I'm always like, if this is a signal or a message from something to better my spiritual life, I accept. If it's anything else, I decline
Right. Right.
because I don't know. I don't think it's good
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
it comes when you say certain things, and you just were talking
it just
about.
happened at that moment. It's just like like for example, there have been multiple occasions where if I microdose on mushrooms or even just a little bit of LSD, my psychic sense, because I'm a walking antenna. I'm like,
Yeah.
walking intent. I can pick up on all kinds of stuff, but I don't really, and I don't paying attention to it all the time. And sometimes I think that's what my tinnitus is like me not tuning into any specific noise. Because it's all noise. And the way I think about it is like, okay, at any moment I can turn on a stereo and hit FM or AM and turn the dial and play a station, which means those frequencies are always moving around
Of
at any
course.
any given point. What is it? What is the capability of the stereo being able to pick up on the frequency? I have that same capability. We
Oh
we
yeah.
all have that same capability of being an antenna and hearing a broadcasted frequency. And when I take just a little bit of something, my ability to cognitively perceive those broadcasts are way enhanced. And sometimes it's really overwhelming. And I had this story where I was in Washington staying in a hotel and I just took 2 grams, just a little microdose too. And when it started to hit, I was feeling very uncomfortable and I'm like, this doesn't make sense because, it's my birthday. Like I was in a good mood, but now all of a sudden, like shit's going south. What's happening? And then I'm pacing around in this hotel room. And then finally it was like, oh, whoosh, the window. I'm being watched from multiple locations. People are actively communicating about me via different channels. and they got a triangulation on me. And that's what's going on. And I entered into this huge psychic battle for an entire night until sunrise. Long story short, the next day I meet up with my buddy and I told him like, yo, dude, I had this crazy night battling fucking dark wizards and shit and blah blah blah. And he's like, well, were you walking around my neighborhood, knocking on people's doors, asking if you can come into their homes and give them a blessing? And I'm like, dude, I would never do anything like that ever. And then he shows me this whole thread on this social platform called Nextdoor, where you can type in your zip code and talk to all your
Yeah.
neighbors, right? So this whole thread on Nextdoor of people monitoring me, identifying me, profiling me. They're like, oh, I see him here at the bank. He's wearing this shirt, driving this van, blah, blah. Like they were identifying they identified my van. They identified the clothes I was wearing. They even put parentheses, speaking things in code. And they were making shit up like, oh, yeah, he was walking in the forest and he tried to talk to our children and all this sort of stuff. Dude, there were no children. I didn't talk to anybody, so, here I was in this hotel room, right? Being like, what's going on? I'm tripping. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I don't want to be feeling this way. It has to be coming from somewhere. Something has to be going. Oh, the channels. I see it now. I'm triangulated. There's actual channels of communication being
Wow.
broadcasted about me. Shit's going down. And so that's what I mean. Like, you know, you know,
You
uh,
know so many people. So I just finished a season of just slinging stakes, dude. I do it for half the year. I could take half the year off. So many people from all over the country come up to Door County, Wisconsin, and maybe 3 times a week, people go, "I know you,"
mhm.
and I'm like,
I get that too.
are you? Where are you? They're like from Chicago. I'm like, no, my sister lives there. I visited a couple times, and they're like, no, no, you live down there. I know, it's you. This happens to me all the time. Who knows if they're just like creating a 3D image of you in some other way and
Hmm.
using
Hmm.
part of your consciousness for some other weird thing. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I should get going, my brother. Though,
Yes,
by
sir.
the way,
Yes,
this has
sir.
been amazing. I just want to say goodnight to my girl who's 14 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, I got you. No problem. I'll end the